What's up everybody, it's Robin Gaming here. So I'm gonna be straight up with you from the beginning here immediately. This is probably the hardest review I'll ever do. I am so split about my opinion on The Last Guardian right now that I'm really unsure about the score I'm going to give it and pretty much everything I'm gonna be talking about. Because on one hand, the game is really beautiful and amazing and it's a great experience that I enjoyed a lot. On the other hand, it's literally, and I'm not exaggerating, broken in some way. There are parts of the game that are just not good at all in any way, and so I'm gonna have to pretty much, cover both of these aspects, of course. So that's what I'm gonna do in this review, and then we'll see exactly where we land, and I'll explain to you, what I mean by all of that. So let's simply start off with what are the good things about the game that I really liked. So we'll begin with the story. Of course, I'm not gonna spoil too much here. We all know kind of what the premise is, right? You are a young nameless boy who seems to be coming from a certain tribe. He's wearing those clothes and stuff. So he wakes up in this, all of a sudden he wakes up right next to this massive beast, this giant bird dog creature that we've all seen called Trico, and he doesn't know where he is. He's got these markings on his body and everything like that. Like I said, he comes from a certain tribe and he knows that he's not supposed to be there. He's in this massive sort of round-shaped cave that we've all seen in the E3 trailer with a lot of these construction buildings and stuff, and it's beautiful, and caves and everything like that. But yeah, he's there with Trico, stranded. They don't know where they are, and it's his goal to, of course, make it out alive and stuff, and that's pretty much what the goal is of the game, is trying to get through, the environment with Trico together. And like I said, without really spoiling anything, all I'm gonna say now is pretty much that I feel like the story is just amazingly told. Seriously, this is a beautiful story about a relationship between these two characters, and it almost couldn't have been pulled off better, I would say. Especially towards the final half of the game, they start adding some explanations and stuff once again without saying too much, and I was just very impressed, and I love the ending as well, and it got to me. It was an emotional ending, it was everything I wanted it to be, and I thought that story-wise, it's not a lot of dialogue and character interactions because you're literally talking about a boy talking to an animal, so it's not the same storytelling as you're used to from video games. It's much more, it's a story about that bond growing, you interacting with Trico, the environments that you're visiting and stuff. That's how the story is told, and it's done absolutely amazingly well, I would say. So story-wise, really no worries there. Don't you worry about that one. It's been pulled off amazing. So then we talk about the presentation, and this also, at first I had my concerns. I was hearing that the game looked kind of like a PS3 game now on PS4 because it's been in development for so long, but I would say graphically it looks really good. Maybe it's not like Uncharted or anything like that, but in terms of the detail, it's great. The environments are awesome. The scale is massive once again. There are some views particularly in the game, mainly towards the final half, where it's absolutely breathtaking. Once again, pulled off so well. You can see in the gameplay that you can see in the video right now, no complaints there. The frame rate is pretty stable, 30 FPS, although there are quite a few, maybe 5 to 10 in your complete, complete playthrough of the game, that it will drop massively. I'm literally talking, it drops to 10 frames per second or something like that. But once again, it doesn't happen that much, so it's not really a reason to complain or something. In general, the game runs pretty good, I would say, at 30 FPS. And then finally, we have the music, which, it's this classical music. We've all heard it in the trailers. Amazing, perfect. Once again, story and presentation in this game, I don't want to ruin too much for you all because it's really an experience that you'll have to have for yourself. I don't want to ruin anything there, but I want to comfort you in saying that that's been done absolutely stunning. So in terms of the gameplay, of course, The Last Guardian is a puzzle platformer. It basically comes down to a lot of exploration, you're trying to make it through all these environments. It's platforming and it's puzzling. So, the puzzles don't come in the traditional sense, they are more environmental puzzles. You're basically constantly trying to figure out where exactly am I supposed to go, and the game doesn't really explain you too well at times, what exactly you're supposed to do. And this is also a bit of an issue that I'll talk about a little later on in this review, but of course you're doing this all together with Trico, and that just feels so special. This is something I've never seen in a video game before. Trico, this massive beast, who together with him you're trying to get through these locations and stuff, and you basically use the R1 button to call him, or you can actually start giving him commands commands by holding R1 and making him, pointing to a certain direction to tell him what to do. And there as well, it's like, you know, Trico feels like an animal. He's not always gonna immediately react to what you're telling him. Like, there are multiple times where it will take him a good 5 or 10 seconds to adjust, and that can get a little frustrating at times, but it's just something that you're kind of gonna have to get used to after a while. Yeah, and as soon as you do, it's not that big of a deal anymore, but sometimes he doesn't react really to what you're doing, so it's not completely flawless in that way, but the game just, once again, like, it really is an environmental puzzle game. There are some situations that it puts you in where it really doesn't explain you know, what exactly you're supposed to do, like I said, and there are gonna be guards and stuff that you're trying to take out. You as the boy can never take the guards out. You always have to, you know, you're always gonna have to rely on Trico to actually take them out because he is strong enough to do so, and that's why you're always, you know, as soon as you encounter guards, you're trying to get Trico to be in your place pretty much, so he can take them out, right? So yeah, that's pretty much what the gameplay is, and you can once again judge a bit in the video here. There are also quite some set pieces, I have to say, and I was really impressed by them. They're not just visually stunning, but, well, actually, I mean, they are really visually stunning. That's the biggest part of them, I guess, because gameplay-wise, you know, you're not going to be doing that many interesting things there, but I was surprised by the set pieces. I really liked what they did there, and there are quite a few of them in the game. So then the value, you know, the game took me about 12 hours to beat, so this is purely a single player game, of course, and there's really not a lot of replay value. As soon as you've beaten the story, you've had that experience, and you've gone through it, like, you'll look back at it as being an amazing ride, but at the same time, I don't really feel like you're gonna be going back for many other things. Like, there is a trophy list and stuff with some ridiculously hard trophies, like beating the game under 5 hours and also beating it without dying, and that's seriously impossible because that's when we're gonna have to kind of get into the issues, but yeah, in general, you know, this is kind of my whole positive side of The Last Guardian. I walked away from the game when I beat it with a feeling of, wow, that was an experience, that really was a journey, and it's completely living up to everything you've seen in the trailers in terms of that emotional impact. Really, trust me on that. If that's what you want from this game, you're going to get it. It's pulled off absolutely awesome, and I don't want to say much more than that because you're just gonna have to kind of experience it for your own. But there's a lot of mystery and stuff, and it's got every single element that you would want this game to have, so really enjoyed it there. Now, I'm gonna have to talk about the negative stuff, and there is, unfortunately, you know, there's not a lot of it, but what's there is really massive in the way, you know, like, the controls. Jesus Christ, this is probably the worst controlling game I've played in the last 5 years or something like that, and I'm not exaggerating there. You know, there's first of all a lot of input lag with the camera controls. Like, the moment you pull the joystick to control your camera, it will take a good half a second to a second for it to actually respond. And once you start getting into these chaotic situations, which especially start happening in the later half of the game, that's why you maybe won't see it that much yet in the gameplay you're seeing in this video, because I'm not going to spoil too much, and this is all early stuff in the game, but at later points in the game, there are these very chaotic moments where this is just not sufficient anymore, and you're constantly gonna get frustrated because of the controls. They're absolutely terrible. Like, it's not only the input lag with the camera, but the boy himself doesn't want to grab things. Like, it gets to a point where you have to tap a certain button for 5 times until he finally starts grabbing onto the thing you wanted him to grab onto. And with the fact that the game doesn't explain you what to do a lot of the time, you get in a certain puzzle situation where you're like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to do this, and then you give it a couple of attempts and it's not working out, and you're like, okay, I guess that's not it, I'm gonna try something else. And what does it turn out? That was actually the right thing that you were supposed to do. It's just the game didn't process or register your moves well and stuff, and so really frustrating in that way. The character also constantly, you know, when you run and then you stop, it takes a while, and you try to jump onto Trico, and the boy doesn't want to move, and you know, there's just a lot of like annoyances with the controls and with the way the game feels to play. That's definitely one of the big downsides, unfortunately, in the game. And then, you know, I've already talked a bit about it, I guess, but the camera itself is also, you know, there's a big problem with the camera. I don't know exactly how to explain this, but you gotta imagine that Trico is this massive beast, right? And the game's environments are designed in the way that, you know, know, there's these massive, like, tunnels that literally fit Trico's size. So the moment you sit on Trico and you're going through a certain tunnel, you can imagine that the camera is trying to also go under in that way, and it's not working out because Trico is too big for that. So the game literally recognizes that itself because it's actually built in a system to compensate for that. You know, the moment the camera is like about to pretty much clip out, it actually fades to black and fades back in, and it actually resets your camera position there as well. So clearly it knows that that's a big issue, and it happens all the time. So once you're playing this game, I can't stress out enough that it's gonna feel frustrating to play it. Like, the controls are just not good, the camera is all over the place and wonky, Trico sometimes doesn't want to react, the boy does not want to grab onto things, so in that way, control-wise, the game literally feels broken in a way, and I just have to be honest about that, and that's really what sucks about the game, because it's like one of the only things that's holding it back so much. If it didn't have that, if it controlled smoothly, this game would have been absolutely amazing. Like, really, there would have been barely any flaws to it. Another quick flaw that I would get to, I guess, that I want to get to is, in terms of the set pieces, I just talked a bit about that. Once again, the game really does not want to explain to you what to do a lot of the time, especially later on in the game. And there are gonna be these moments where there's a lot of pressure and you're like, oh my god, I need to be quick. There's a lot of time pressure here because something crazy is going on and I need to make sure it stops, if you know what I mean, without spoiling too much. What's going on actually is that the game really doesn't tell you what to do. It is this massive set piece, but you have no clue exactly what you're supposed to do, and you will literally get stuck for a good 10 to 15 minutes in certain situations. I've had moments where for half an hour straight I had no clue what to do, and this is a linear game, but it really wants you to think outside of the box, and to combine that with the bad controls and everything, it just doesn't work very well often. And so when there are these set pieces with a lot of time pressure, you'll find yourself just taking 10 minutes to find out what exactly you're supposed to do, and it just takes away a bit from the emotional impact, if you get what I mean. So I feel like I've kind of covered it all, and that's what I mean. I'm very double about the game. On one hand, I walk away with this being an amazing experience, you know, that's pulled off very well, where the story is great and well told, where the presentation is absolutely beautiful, the gameplay is fun and challenging, and once again, it does make you think outside of the box. At the same time, it can be very frustrating. And value-wise, you know, it's only 12 hours or something, but it's an experience that I would recommend to anyone. Like, this is just something that you need to have played at some point, I feel. But at the same time, you know, it's held back by these bad controls, by the camera that's just not working with you, by the confusing set pieces that take away from the experience because you don't know what to do a lot of the time and you just get stuck, you know. And in that way, I've had my frustrations with the game, but I do walk away positive with the fact that I was like, man, I'm glad I played this, and I definitely would recommend this to people. In the end, I decided to give the game an 8 out of 10, and I hope I kind of, you know, explained to you exactly what the issues were for me. And yeah, I just gotta be honest about that the controls were really that bad. Like, I'm not lying when I say that this is pretty much one of the worst controlling games I've played for the last 5 years, like I said. So apart from that, I do want to say, yeah, it is. In the end, I'm left with a positive feeling. I'm glad I played the game. It was an experience. It's something that I'm gonna remember for a long time to come. So if that's what you wanted from The Last Guardian, a true experience, then that's what you're definitely gonna be getting. So with that being said, thanks a lot for watching my review. Leave a quick like if you enjoyed it, and yeah, it helps out my channel a lot. And then for now, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.